And Kim Strassel has an interesting analysis. I want you all to weigh in on this. Tonight in the Wall Street Journal, she writes, it's about the FBI source. She says, we know Mr. Nunes's request deals with a top secret intel source of the FBI and CIA who is a U.S. citizen and who was involved in the Russia collusion probe. We might take this to mean that the FBI secretly had a person on the payroll who used his or her non-FBI credentials to interact in some capacity with the Trump campaign. Strassel seems to be, she has incredible sources, I know that, and she seems to be indicating that there could have been someone inside the Trump campaign from the FBI who is embedded in there, I guess, spying on the Trump campaign. Now, we'll see if any of this pans out, but Tom.
Well, we had confirmation this last week from the House Intelligence Committee that there was a counterintelligence operation against Flynn while he was on the campaign or working for the transition.
Yeah, and how does that play out? You know, just wiretaps or just what?
Yeah, what was it? What did the program entail? Look, this Justice Department takes the approach of the modified limited hangout in terms of information releases. For 4 months, the Mueller operation sat on the fact that they had the Lisa Page struck page messages. And on top of that, then we found out about the Clinton DNC dossier. There's going to be a fourth or third or fifth shoe to drop.
Other shoes will drop.
And this, I don't believe that there's classified information at issue here. There's embarrassing information at issue here.
Saul. The Strassel point,
well,
we'll see what comes of this, but it's interesting. If, Saul, I know you love ifs as a white-collar litigator. You love my hypotheticals. Let's go back to law school. If the FBI embedded someone inside the Trump campaign, and they believe it for legitimate purpose, if Russia was really trying to throw the election, if they had information indicating that, they put someone inside the Trump campaign, burrowed away, working in one of those little cubicles with his ear out or her ear out. What's the problem there, if there's a problem there?
Oh, there's a big problem unless you have the same kind of problem you have when you search a lawyer's office. You better have something really, really good to be able to justify that. And here's the problem. There's an old saying, and before I go any further, let's give credit to John Ehrlichman, the author of Modified Limited Hangout. I wouldn't want to leave him twisting slowly in the wind, Laura.
Oh, but, excellent.
Keep in mind, there's an old saying, the wages of crying wolf. And Harmeet put her finger on it. We've now seen too many instances where the Department of Justice and or the FBI has said, we have to redact this because it could endanger national security and it's classified. And we have seen now, time after time, where it's been unredacted, and it's just been embarrassing. And the latest and when you do that 2 or 3 times, people are going to stop believing you. You lose all credibility. And we saw that last weekend when they finally unredacted 2 passages in the House Intelligence Committee Majority Report, the Select Committee Report, and they revealed 2 incredible things. One, that the FBI didn't think Mike Flynn had lied. We had heard about that.
Huge
but secondly,
revelation.
Shockingly, that people haven't focused on enough, that the underlying crime Mike Flynn was being investigated for was the Logan Act, an act that's been a dead letter for over 200 years.
Right.
It's absolutely shocking.
Yeah, that John Kerry never violates. So, yeah, of course. Yeah, so we got 2 pieces of it.
It's really shocking. It's really shocking that Sally Yates would approve and greenlight an investigation of anybody for violating the Logan Act.
Now,
no
Sally
one has
Yates,
ever
come on,
been
let's talk
prosecuted.
turkey here. I mean, we're way over here, but Sally Yates, I mean, that little hissy fit of a resignation letter. Oh, come on. She marches herself or the agents over to interview Flynn. That whole thing smells like a big, fat setup to me. Yates marching. Why do they have any business going to interview Mike Flynn? Mike Flynn didn't even have a lawyer with him. He's like, sure, I'll talk to you. He didn't think he had any. Of course they didn't give him notice. Mike Flynn should have never talked to them, but he didn't think anything of it, Saul. He was like, well, you know, whatever. You guys were way over. I want to do an hour with you. I need to have a 5-hour show. I love my guests. Thank you, guys. Excellent.
Keep in mind, there's an old saying, the wages of crying wolf. And Harmeet put her finger on it. We've now seen too many instances where the Department of Justice and or the FBI has said, we have to redact this because it could endanger national security and it's classified. And we have seen now, time after time, where it's been unredacted and it's just been embarrassing. And the latest and when you do that 2 or 3 times, people are going to stop believing you. You lose all credibility. And we saw that last weekend when they finally unredacted two passages in the House Intelligence Committee Majority Report, the Select Committee report, and they revealed two incredible things. One, that the FBI didn't think Mike Flynn had lied. We had heard about that.
Huge
but secondly,
revelation.
Shockingly, that people haven't focused on enough, that the underlying crime Mike Flynn was being investigated for was the Logan Act, an act that's been a dead letter for over 200 years.
Right.
It's absolutely shocking.
Yeah, that John Kerry never violates. So, yeah, of course.
And
Threatening contempt of Congress against Jeff Sessions. Seems like you have to threaten contempt of Congress to get anywhere. And, and what is this? Where's this going?
No, I mean, this is a spectacle that does very bad for the reputation of the Department of Justice and the FBI here, where it takes threats, repeated threats. It's like, it's like those movies where the villains are chasing the train and they're throwing stuff off the back to try to delay them. It's like that. But eventually they're going to have to, pay the piper and come forward with this information. They're doing it very slowly. There's clearly something they have to hide, because if they didn't have something to hide, what's really ironic here is that the Department of Justice is not in the Constitution. It's an inferior branch of government that was created by Congress. And so for them to arrogantly say that they're somehow above the Congress and they don't have to answer requests like the rest of the government.